You look very
Does she work
similar
here?
to her.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Hello.
She's my niece.
Good afternoon, whatever it is. How do I turn off the waiting room, Julian? I always think I remember and then I don't.
It's not
remember.
in here. And it should be under
He was there a second. It's right here.
the
Turn it off.
You know what?
We gotta teach them to do Zoom and in person at the same time.
Hello. Okay, it's 1:05, which is 1 o'clock in Realtor time. Hi, welcome to group coaching. So sorry I wasn't with y'all last week. Hopefully Chris Wise gave y'all some fabulous information on farming, not the type of farming you were talking about, but geo farming. So hopefully all that as well. Today we're going to talk about listing presentations. So listing presentations, often whenever I get asked questions about listing presentations, the questions are, what do I bring? What do I say? And yeah, what do I bring? What do I say? And there's a third question that I can't remember, but it'll come to me because one of y'all will ask it. So what do we bring? Okay, what I bring is a listing presentation, right? And you're probably thinking, duh. A listing presentation is the document that has everything that you do, basically your unique value proposition, right? What you actually do to market houses. Now, some of you are probably like, Thomas, I'm a new agent. I don't have one of those. Yes, you do. Okay. There's a website we keep talking about that you keep ignoring us about called Command. Okay. And in Command, we can create a design. See, we're just going to learn how to do it right now. And it's going to be something that you print. We're going to go in here. This is really complicated. I've made 2 clicks so far. So if I need to slow down, y'all let me know. And then we'll go in here. We'll look at it and we'll wait for our 100 megabits per second Verizon internet to catch up with how fast we're moving. And then over here on the left-hand side, we'll go into listings. Okay. Listing presentation. And then we just pick our favorite one. Thomas, I don't have a listing presentation. You do. You've got 5 of them. Okay. And you can customize them however you want to. So for example, the company that I represent is not Keller Williams Realty. The company I represent is Eves Realty Group. So I would change all of the Keller Williams Realty logos to Eves Realty Group. And my color is not red. And so, oh, look, there's my ex-buyer's agent. Here's my old headshot. How cute. But they're already loaded in here. So I'll take this red that I don't like, and I will change it to my blue, which I know is so much better. So anyway, and it would normally change, but of course, because I'm demonstrating it, it didn't. So you do have a listing presentation, that's right. You're just go and do it and run with it, and you'll love it. And the pages that you don't like, you're just like, Thomas, I don't like that it says that. Well, just remove it then, and don't use it. Okay. So it's yours, it's customizable, do whatever you want with it, and it'll be awesome. Okay. So we have a listing presentation, you have it, so go get it. The next thing that I bring is a comparable market analysis, a CMA. So we know that the one pager has got all of the sold listings in the area, in the subdivision that, have we taught the CMA class yet? CMA class. So we'll do that. I think I have a YouTube video about it though. So I bring my CMA with me. I also bring what's called a seller's net sheet. Is everybody familiar with a seller's net sheet? What's the most important number at a listing presentation?
What they take.
I'm so glad we learned this. Yeah. It's the seller's take home, right? It's the check they get at closing. Okay. We don't care about the listing price. We don't care about the commission. We don't care about any of those numbers. It's what check they're going to walk away with at closing. And so it offers a whole lot of clarity for a seller whenever we just bring them that number. Okay. So a seller's net sheet, you can run it on all sorts of different websites. There's an app, a really, really cool app called Palm Agent, P-A-L-M Agent. You can download for free, and Palm Agent basically does most of the math for you. I use a website called Stewart. I don't use Stewart Title, but I think they have a pretty cool online net sheet. So if you go to stewart.com/Dallas and click on get a quote, you can create a net sheet on that. Palm Agent. I think it's called Palm Agent 1 or something like that. Yeah, you'll find it. It's a really cool little thing. I've actually tried to buy that program for the coaching students, but that they can only sell to title companies is what they told me, which I think is stupid. What's that?
What kind of CMA do you do?
I do a single
Just
quick CMA. I don't ever do the cloud CMA with the freaking 65 page. It doesn't make any sense. And no one's looking at it. Okay, you're the only one that knows how to read it. You're the professional. So we think that our clients are really studying it. They're not. Okay, most of the stuff you print and bring to an appointment, nobody will ever look at. Just so you know. I also bring something called a migration study. And this is important because no other agent's going to do it. Thomas, I don't have a migration study. You do. You do, folks. You do, I promise. So we're going to go back into Command. And I'm going to show you a tool that you have that exactly 100% of nobody else has. And.kw.com. Okay, so whenever you're in Command, if you go over here into the Referrals tab, the fourth one down on the left, and then if you go over here to Map, how many of you have never seen this before? I'm going to go into Map. And over here it says Production. We're not interested in production. I want to see referral patterns. Okay. My client is moving to Denton, Texas. See all these lines? Okay. So this is where people are moving out of Denton to. We're not really interested in that. I want to see who's moving to Denton. Okay. So if I show up to a listing presentation and I can show my client who lives in Denton, like, hey, you know, most agents take a marketing budget and they just kind of throw it all over the place. They put it like in California and New York and in Houston and in all these other weird places. What if we could just target really specifically who's moving to Denton? We know that 4% of people are moving from Dallas. We know that 4% of people are moving from Austin. We know that if we go all the way down the list here, we can see that a big chunk of people are just moving from other areas of Texas. Where do you think we're going to spend the lion's share of your market budget? The answer is Texas, right? Did the RE/MAX agent have any of these insights out of curiosity? Did your Century 21 agent have any of, did they have any of this data? No? Okay, weird. So yeah, so this is where we're going to spend your budget. By the way, does anybody know why there's a 2% from Tucson, Arizona? Anybody have any insights on it? You guys know about the big meat packing company that came from Arizona, moved their entire headquarters to Decatur and Denton? That's where they're coming from. So we get to literally just look up in the local news, go like, why are there people moving to Denton, Texas from Tucson, Arizona? And you'll look in the Denton Record Chronicle, like, oh, meat packing plant, who's from Arizona? Now you've got insights. Did the RE/MAX agent mention the corporate headquarters that was moving from another? No, they didn't mention that. Weird. Okay, huh. It's weird that nobody mentioned that. So now, by the way, you're probably thinking, Thomas, how do I get this map? How do I print this and take this to an appointment? If you're on a PC, there's a PC. So if you're on a PC, you can go in this little type here to search, and you can type in the word snip and just hit enter. Okay. And that will bring up the snip tool. And the snip tool, it will bring up the snip tool. For a computer that's from the last decade, then you'll have the snipping tool right here. And then you'll click on it. And eventually it'll bring up the snip tool where you can drag and select the area that you want to take a screenshot of, and then you can screenshot that and just Control P. Okay. If you're on a Mac, it's Command-Shift-4. Command-Shift-4 does the exact same thing. I don't know why that didn't work. Anyway, so we won't dwell on that. So that's what I bring to a listing presentation. Anybody have any questions about what I bring? Okay, cool. The next thing is, oh, look, that it just popped up 5.5 years later. So there it is. I print that. That's what I take with me. And you can print it on 11x14 paper, which we have on our printers, so that you can scroll out a big map for them and go, look, and they'll see all the arrows and go, wow, no one else brought that. It's like, yeah, I know. And I did. So cool stuff. Okay, so that's what I bring. next thing is, what do you say, right? So kind of how an appointment works for me. And obviously this is different if it's an expire or for sale by owner or a come list me. We're just going to kind of talk as if it's a casual come list me appointment, right? I'm interviewing agents, come and talk to me about listing my house. Okay. So I always, I show up on time. Is anyone shocked by this? We don't show up on realtor time for appointments. Whenever it's appointments, we actually have to show up on the client's time. I go up to the door, I knock, and I inform them like, hi, we have an appointment at 5 p.m. It's 5 p.m. May I come in? I come in. The first thing I do is I ask them for a tour. Okay. Now, the more houses you sell, the more you're going to realize that all houses look exactly the same. Okay. Remember when we had that HGTV idea that we were going to let go, and it's like, oh, I can't wait to just look at houses. It's really, really mundane. Okay, but that's okay. You need to keep in mind the objective. When we're going in that house and we're looking at their stuff, we're not looking at the architecture. Okay, we're not looking at the house. What we're doing is we're looking for stuff to relate on. The appointment is for the purposes of building rapport. We can sell any house. We can sell any house. You can sell any house. So we're not worried about what the house looks like. Go in and build rapport. So I'm looking for things like family photos, golf clubs, their car, pictures of their kids, something I can relate on. If you've got kids, they've got, oh, how old are your kids? Right, so we're building rapport. Oh, you've got golf clubs. I play golf. Let's talk about, so what you're doing is you're building rapport. We need to relate to them and let's talk to them about that stuff. I don't care about the house. I don't care about it. I'll sell it. I'll sell bottled water to a drowning woman. I don't care. I'll sell whatever you got. I'm not interested in the house. I'm going to look at their stuff. So once you've completed the tour, the idea is to try to get them to, now here's the thing. We used to try to get them to the dining room table. What do fewer and fewer houses have now? Dining room tables. And so the second best place is like the kitchen bar or the kitchen island. Okay. This is where decisions will be made. Okay. So what I do at that point is I lay down my folder, which I've been carrying with me. I lay down my folder and I say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'd love to go through some data with you regarding your house. But before we do that, I just want to hear from you. Why are you moving? Okay. Why would I ask them where they're moving? What's that? Motivation, yeah. Well, also if they say like, yeah, we just think this house is not enough space for us. And so we're thinking we need something larger, maybe up toward Aubrey or something. Like if they say that sentence, then what does the listing presentation become? It becomes a buyer consultation, right? How motivated does the seller become to sell their house whenever you found them the house they're going to buy? They get real motivated real fast. Suddenly, we don't have to have a conversation about commission or listing price or anything like that. It's like, oh, we just got to get your house on the market so that you can buy this house that we found for you, right? So, so we ask them for their motivation. If they're buying somewhere where we can help them purchase, then awesome. If they're buying somewhere where we can't help them purchase, just so you guys know, we have agents in 64 countries. We're the largest real estate sales force on the planet. You have a referral partner, and you know them, and you love them, and they're your best friend. No matter where they're moving. We're moving to Bowling Green, Kentucky. Oh my God, my friend Samantha, there's a Samantha somewhere in Bowling Green, Kentucky, is the best agent in Bowling Green. I can't wait to get you in touch with her. So just so you know, you have agents everywhere. Make that referral money. It's a good idea. So we're gonna ask them about that and say, awesome. So so here's the next question. Just like what's your biggest fear or what's your biggest drawback? What's the thing you're fearing most about putting this house in the market? And they're going to tell you one of two things. It's always one of two things. Okay, it's either time or it's money. It's either I'm worried we're not going to be able to move in time for or I'm worried it's going to take too much time, or I'm worried we're not going to be able to move fast enough, or it's we just feel like we're upside down on it. Remember the net sheet? That's a really important document. We haven't showed them anything. I've got a net sheet in my back pocket. I know how much they're going to net from selling this property. I know. I already know walking into it. Okay. So, so the net sheet's really important. And so if they're saying that it's money, we already have the insights on what that is, right? So it's time or it's money. Find out what that is. That guides us into the next conversation, right? So if they're moving, we're going to have a buyer consultation. If their concern is time, where their concern is money, no problem. That's whenever we open up our folder and we pull out the comparable market analysis. The reason for that is because the comparable market analysis has two really important pieces of data. One piece of data that has is the sold information. We know how much their house is likely to sell for. We've seen the condition. We know what other houses in the neighborhood that have sold for similar sizes are going to sell for, right? But what if their motivation is time? What other piece of data does it have? Yeah, it shows days on market. Okay. So now let's say, they're really motivated. Like we need to sell in like the next 30 days. And the average duration on the market in the neighborhood is 90 days. What conversation are we going to have? Yeah, but but they really need to sell in 30 days. But the average is 90. Can you think of an analogy to help explain that? If you can't, okay. I go with the beauty pageant analogy. It's just like when we put your house on the market, we're entering it into a beauty pageant. Okay. And if you've ever watched a beauty pageant, you know that it's not always the most beautiful person who wins. You also have to answer some tough questions. Right? Okay. So here's how we sell. Here's how we sell in a third of the time of the rest of the market. We have to price better than everyone else. We have to market better than everyone else. And oh yeah, we need to disclose better than everyone else as well. Okay. So that means you need to fill out the paperwork yesterday. Okay. We're creating the motivation in their head right now. No longer are they wondering whether or not they're going to hire you. They're just like, yeah, we need to do that. Yes. It's like, we need to get the paperwork done yesterday. I need to get photos scheduled. I need a spare key from you. We've got to get going on this. Oh yeah, and you need to follow my staging instructions to a T so that I can get you exactly what you want. Okay. So the pricing conversation is very, very simple, right? I don't price any of my listings. I've never priced a listing. I don't price listings. Okay. I give them the information and I guide them. And I eventually ask the question, like, based on the information I've presented to you, okay, where, if you were in my shoes, where would you list this property to get sold within the amount of time that you specified, right? And it's really, really difficult for them to look at the data that you provided to them and say anything other than the right answer, okay? And if they do give you the wrong answer, then at that point, you just ask them to justify it. But, okay, yeah. So justify that price per square foot for me whenever all these other properties have sold for the following prices per square foot. Well, we have bird houses, and my bedroom has a ceiling fan. And I know that house doesn't have one. Like, okay, and how much value are you giving us for bird house and a ceiling fan? It's like, well, $30,000. Okay, I'm going to call the Home Depot right now. We're going to figure out the value of 3 birdhouses and a ceiling fan. And I will absolutely add that value to the price per square foot for you. But I bet it's not going to be that number. Okay. This conversation never goes there, by the way, but if it did, we'll hear you. Okay. The most important part of the listing presentation is the close. Okay. And this is the part that 99.9% of real estate agents absolutely suck at. Because real estate agents don't want to be salespeople. We're in a society where we've grown up to dislike salespeople. We don't like to be sold. We don't like to be closed. It's an uncomfortable feeling. Okay, I get it. I do. And yet, whenever you've nailed a listing consultation, when you've nailed it, okay, the seller is literally begging to close. They're begging. Okay, they're not going to say it. There's an ego thing. They're not going to say it, but you need to say it. Okay. And so you can ask it in a few different ways. My favorite way to ask it is, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, based on the conversations that we've had, I think that we've arrived at the conclusion that I can get you what you want within the time that you prescribe. Given that we've answered all your questions today, if I could get you what you want in the time you prescribe, does that pose a problem for you? Does that pose a problem for you? We're asking, does that pose a problem for you? Because their answer is, it's no. Okay. They're already predisposed to saying no to you. They get to say no, but in this circumstance, no means yes. Okay. If you want to ask it a different way, the other way you can ask it is, are you ready to get started? The number one objection that I get after I've answered all of the objections is we're interviewing other agents, or we are, we think we have an offer coming in, we think we've got a friend that might want to buy it, or I requested something from Zillow Offers, or whatever it is. So to answer the agent objection, we're interviewing other agents. There's a very high D answer that I can give you. There's also some less high D answers I can give you. The answer I always give, if someone says, Brooke, can you role play? It'll be very easy. Yeah. All you have to do is tell me that you're interviewing other agents. So like, Brooke, are you ready to get started?
I'm interviewing other agents.
Oh, thank God. Okay. Well, I thank you for saying that. I was actually going to say something to you. I always prefer for my clients to meet with other agents before they decide to sign with me, because you can't possibly know how good I am unless you've talked to somebody else. So please interview your other agents, and I'll expect to hear from you. That works all the time.
Do they usually like sign right away, or is it?
They usually sign about 30 minutes later. Whenever I'm driving home, like, hey, we thought about it and we called it. I'm like, yeah, I know. Here's another objection. Okay. Brooke, are you ready to get started?
Yes, wait, I guess no, because you're wanting my objection.
You already closed it.
No, tell me that you're meeting with other agents.
I'm meeting with other agents.
Yeah, so I understand that you've made other obligations, and can I tell you what scares me about that?
Yes.
Okay. Often what I find is that we've already talked about all the objections, and at this point that the right thing to do is to go ahead and get started based on your motivation, based on what we've talked about, and we've had a great consultation. Are you feeling guilty about canceling your consultation with the other real estate professionals?
Yes.
You are. Would it be okay if I went ahead and canceled those for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Just so you know, we're all professionals in this business, and the one thing we value more than anything is our time. Okay. And so I know from experience that the other agent doesn't want to spend their time coming over here and presenting to you whenever I've already answered your objections. Okay. So do me a favor, let me know names and numbers of who you were going to meet with. I'll give them a call on my way out, and then I'll let them know not to come. That was a problem for you? Such a phone call. I'd let y'all have the listen, by the way. That'd be great. I'd do that. I've thought about that scenario. I'd let y'all. I'm gonna make 10% out of it. So, okay. So,
It'd be more work us taking it than you, if you have all our questions.
yeah, maybe I'll just bring you along. We'll work along this. I'll let y'all decide what y'all want to do. So those are the main objections, and that's how I tend to answer the objection. They're begging for you to close them. A great listing presentation. You're bringing more data than anybody else brought. Okay, you're bringing way more data. No one else has that. They don't have it. You get it.
I have a question. So, when you're pricing and running the CMA, in those instances where you can't compare, there's not as many comparable properties, or maybe it has like solar panels or something extra that you don't see as often, what's the best resource in finding how to price it, or how much those things could increase pricing?
Solar panels decrease value.
Really? Because there was this one house that we just sold on, the lender had said that it, like, the appraiser had really liked it. And it was one
Nice
that
at
had
that rate
increased it or something.
No, it's a liability. It's a liability. It's also considered kind of an eyesore. A lot of HOAs are making that.
Also, if they are financing,
If they lease them.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Okay. I see. But in terms of knowing hey, this might increase your value by this much, but this might decrease your value by that much. And it's not like as easy as if I were about.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just, that's sort of a knowledge guided by experience section. So we know that in some neighborhoods, right? So for example, in my old neighborhood, Fairview West, having a pool was about a $15,000 lot. I know that because all the houses with pools that were 2,000 square feet sold for about $15,000 more than houses that didn't have a pool. And so you can run comparables that way. Comparables only with properties.
Oops.
I went to public school. I don't know how to use this.
But so anyway, what was the question? Oh yeah, you run the comps as only, so like, let's say it's a corner lot. Look for the comp, only the ones that are corner lots. If they're not a corner lot, at that point, they're not comparable.
Even
Right.
if it's like further out than what, like say you do subdivision and you don't see it, or say you do like half a mile radius.
Oh, I would never do that. There is actually a former coach who will go unnamed who taught that you should do a geographic search or go out by radius. If you do that, you're doing it wrong. Don't do it.
For listings and buyers or just for?
Listings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for running a comparable market analysis. Don't
Okay.
do that. Don't do that. Could you imagine if we were comping a house in Southridge, right over here, and we were to just go out a half mile? If you were to go a half mile, not only would you get this row of multi-million-dollar properties right here on Ridgecrest, but you'd also get in the Southridge Estates, which is a bunch of cookie cutter houses that are 2,500 square feet, compared to these ranch houses that were built in the 60s and 70s. And also the new houses at the bottom, it would be the weirdest cacophony of crap ever. And you'd be like, well, look, this one sold for 853,000. And this one sold for 215,000. So I don't know, let's meet somewhere in the middle, 400. It's just like no, don't.
So just change your
do
days?
that.
Is that how you would?
No, first of all, stay in the subdivision. We need to teach a CMA class, clearly. Stay in the subdivision if you can. If you can't stay in the subdivision because it's rural, or if it's not in one, the first thing that I always do is I go to elementary school zone. Why elementary school zone? Because that's the next smallest thing you can look at. Okay, it's in the same elementary school zone. It's in the same city. It's in the same zip code. It's probably comparable. I want to stay within 5 years of build year when possible. Okay, and I want to stay within 300 to 500 square feet. Okay, and then you might even have to go in and look at pictures to verify that you're looking at a home that's of similar architecture, right? If I've got a ranch, I don't want to compare that to a geodome. Okay, so you want to make sure that they look. And sometimes there's no better way than just go look at the photos. You want to compare for condition too. Don't be afraid to go into the map view too and look at it and go, well, that one's on a corner and that one's on a cul-de-sac. That might be comparable, but one that's on a golf course is probably not comparable to a property that's, just a typical lot in between two houses, right? So that's the mastery CMA stuff. Shane Knutson teaches a great CMA class, by the way. We should get him.
There was the one that I watched on the KW Connect.
Yeah.
Was not the good one then, because that one was saying, it was the cloud one. And it
No,
was saying like to do the geographic area. And
I
it was
will have
like,
that deleted.
okay. Yeah, it was a long one too. I was
that
like
on
taking
the-
notes and then like.
That's not on
everything.
our page. That's on what, KW Denton Live.
I think
I
I
don't
posted
remember
one on
which
Facebook.
one it was.
I think it was one I just watched recently. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I've never
But
done the
yeah.
cloud CMA. I don't
Okay,
agree with the cloud CMA.
okay. Well, that was all I was like telling you
If you want
about
to
how
overwhelm
awesome it
someone,
was.
want to overwhelm somebody with really irrelevant data, do the
Yeah,
cloud.
it's really long.
Did you do the quick CMA even for your listing presentations?
It's a one page.
I
I'm not-
don't do listings.
No, I do the one
I like
page.
to do listings.
You want to overwhelm people with a bunch of irrelevant info, do the cloud CMA. I do one page.
So the CMA that you run for listings is similar to, I mean, do you, I guess off topic, but whenever you go show a buyer a house, do you usually run a CMA for someone that's interested in putting in an offer, or?
Once they've told me they're interested in putting an offer, I will run. the CMA.
Okay.
And I run them the same way. I don't run them with bias toward listing or
And that
buyer.
was my question was, are they any different? No, you do them the same way? Okay, cool.
Yeah, because I think that's fair, right? I wouldn't, I think if we start running CMAs like trying to be optimistic for the seller. We're kind of doing them a disservice. And if we do CMA is really trying to like find out what it's not worth so that our buyer doesn't overpay, we're really kind of doing them a disservice also. Why not just do a really objective CMA? And here's the thing, if you're doing CMAs right, you're gonna come up with a range, right? You're gonna go, look, based on what I'm seeing, this property can sell anywhere between 134 and 150 square foot. That's between this and this. So what narrows it down to, is it here, or is it here? Condition, location, upgrades, and market dynamics. So get a buyer's market or result.
Most of the time, this is something that I come across often, is most of the time when I'm going on this presentation, right, you go with your CMA.
Yeah.
But you haven't actually seen the house yet.
That's true.
So how do you know what's comparable?
That's why the range is so important, right? I never go in thinking, I'm gonna sell this house for this number. I always go in going, okay, if it's a complete pile of crap, I know that the lowest comp is this price per square foot, right? And that's where I'm gonna gauge it. And I know that if this house is immaculate and has marble columns and such, well, I know that the highest point has been this, and I know what those properties look like. Normally, by the way, whenever I take my CMA, I also take the properties that I think are most comparable. I take the photos of those properties. So you can go into, I'm not logged into MLS, but you can go into MLS and just click on the little pictures thing and bring up the control print that. It's usually 2 or 3 pages. It'll print all the pictures of that house. So that way I can go, look, this one's the same square footage, and it's also got a lot premium, and also has a pool, and this is the condition compared to this. Keller Williams was supposed to come out with something 3 years ago called qualitative assessment that would have done all that for you, and then of course they botched the release of that. But
Can you talk about pricing strategy? Because the range is important, but I feel like
I can. So. Okay, so as far as pricing strategy goes, what the reason I'm pushing on the brake a little bit here is because you guys are going to learn on Wednesday of next week, price your listing. Who's teaching? So price your listing. I don't know what Michael's going
Ignite
to teach you.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It's Ignite.
Alright.
So for those of you who are enrolled in Ignite, you're going to take price your listing on Wednesday. And what I don't want to do is contradict the coach. Rather, contradict the instructor. But chances are I'm not going to agree with it. And so what I don't want to happen is you guys to go into Ignite class and go, that's not what Thomas said. So I'm like, okay.
this is just how you do it.
Yeah.
But I feel like you have a good explanation.
Yeah, so we're gonna do something called listing presentation or pricing strategy light, LITE. So let me see if I've got the graphic on Eve's marketing strategy. Thomas, can I rip off and duplicate your listing strategy? Yes, you can. It's at evesmarketingstrategy.com.
Just don't click on any of the links in there.
What website is that?
Eve's.
Get a free video listing console. So it's
Yeah, it's we have a,
That's your website?
yeah.
yeah. Well, so a lot of people are just like where do I put my listing consultation? I just put it on my I just put it on a website so that way I can show it anytime I want to.
For each realtor?
Yeah, I can send it to you.
Okay. How many of you have watched The Price is Right?
You know,
I know, it's like there's a major generation gap that just happens here. Okay. When I was sitting around with my granny circa 1994, we would watch The Price is Right. And whenever you're on The Price is Right, you have to guess the costs of a lot of items. And what you'll notice is that a lot of people will say prices like $39.99. Okay. Why didn't they just say $40?
They didn't want to go over.
Right, and went over, right? And a lot of products were priced on the 9s, okay? So I'm selling these two, pretend these are identical, okay? I'm selling these 2 remote controls, okay? This one is $9.99 and this one is $10. Which one are you buying?
$9.99.
Why?
It's
That's a
perception.
big old dollar.
It's cheaper.
Yeah.
It's genuinely cheaper, right? Now, once you ask taxes, but yeah, anyway, so yeah, no, it's cheaper, right? Okay, so here, so the problem is that Houses? Do you ever see houses on a shelf next to each other?
No.
No. Where do you see houses?
Oh, my God.
Free.
Zillow.
If you just say on the street? Okay.
Shell.
I'm sorry. Let me rephrase the question.
You said on a
Where do you shop for houses? You shop for houses online. We got there. I'm actually gonna, for the purposes of a great demonstration, let me head over to the MLS real quick. I'll log in real quick because I want to prove my point so that you guys know that I'm not full of expert. My cyberbacker just changed my password, so. Okay. Cool. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna look for properties in Denton right now. What's the average price point in Denton? Yeah, 350.
It's 4 or something.
Yeah, I think like 4.
It's
I
like
just ran it.
360.
I thought it was like 350, 325 last week.
I just ran it yesterday.
Yeah, I ran.
All right. We're gonna do a range here. We're gonna look from 350 up to 400. Okay? How many results do we have? Can y'all see that?
1,932.
1,932. Okay. I'm gonna show y'all something really
But
interesting.
yeah, I ran.
So right now, and by the way, I haven't tested this. I don't know if it's gonna work, so I can.
399. That was the average as of September.
There we go. I haven't tested this, so I could be making an idiot of myself. You got ready? We have 1,932 results between 350,000 and 400,000. Now watch this. I'm gonna change this not to 350 to 400, but 349 to 400. Now what happened?
2,093.
Wow. Okay. Hold on. Hold on a second. Don't panic. I'm panicking. What if, now here's the thing. What if my buyer calls me and says, Thomas, I'm looking for a house in Denton between 350 and 400? How many listings did they miss out on? Now, let me ask you something. Is it the buyer's agent's fault that they missed out on an extra 100 listings? Or is it the listing agent's fault for pricing it on a 9? Yeah, so hold on, we're gonna go even further. You guys are your brain is about to literally melt in front of you. We're gonna go to a website you've probably never heard of. Don't blow up. All right, so here's, all right, everyone calm down. Calm down, we're in a controlled environment. You got your goggles on? All right, here we go. We're gonna click on the buy here on
I
Zillow.
live with it, okay?
Uh-huh. Shut up, Julian. So we're gonna go over here into price. Now, I want you guys to notice something really interesting whenever I click on price. Okay, when I click on price here on Zillow.com, do you guys see any 9s in the price range here?
Yes, at the very bottom.
Touche.
You're welcome.
So now I can't search from 350 to 400, but I can search from 300 to 400, right? Okay. Now, what if my dream home is listed at 299,000? Is it going to come up in this search? No. Weird. Okay. So the whole point I'm trying to make here is that if we're looking, when I made this pricing strategy, you could buy a house for $200,000. That's interesting. Okay. So if we're looking from 200 to 250, right? Let's just say there's 100 buyers looking in Denton between 200 and 250,000. Okay. Let's say there's another 100 buyers looking from 250,000 up to $300,000. What's the only price point that captures 200 buyers simultaneously? Right. If I priced it at 249,000, how many buyers do I get? 100, right? And am I the most expensive house in that price range, or am I the cheapest? Okay, so if I price at 249, I priced at the highest possible price point with the lowest possible amount of buyers reached. So I priced to the people who could barely afford it. So can we think of a reason why that might be stupid? Okay, cool. So we can see how pricing real estate the way that we price things on a shelf doesn't make any sense. Okay, we can see how nines don't help us, they hurt us, okay? Guys, 90% of your competition is pricing on the nines. Just so you know. So you want to win? You want to show a seller that you're smarter than your competition? Show them this. It'll make sense. So, and,
we don't know what Mike was gonna teach you on Wednesday.
well, but we know that, and here's why I say that. The Ignite instructor from last Ignite back in July or whatever it was, taught to do what I'm telling you not to do today. So I would just keep it to yourself. If
And
there's,
I'm just the one that raised my hand and was like, that's not what they taught us.
You were.
So Thomas always teaches sell your listing, which is
the one after.
that.
Oh.
So there's always been like a.
There's always a
Well,
moment.
what's told to you because.
I was like,
So
Yeah.
you were saying like, if you do your CMA for a listing, you're very objective. So you have a range. And then you let the clients dictate where. If they say, we want to do it at 249, you advise against that? Or-
Absolutely. Yeah. So we
And that's when you would pull this out and show them. this.
Yeah, and so what I explain at that point is the difference between price and pricing strategy, right? Like, I love that you've arrived at a price. Now we're gonna have a whole new discussion about pricing strategy. True or false, having your home exposed to more people gets you more results than exposing it to less people. They're gonna go, yes, like, perfect. That's why we're gonna talk about listing on a multiple of 50,000 or 100,000. Okay. And you can always take them to a website like Zillow.com and show them this example, because they don't separate it by nines. They don't. Neither does Trulia, neither does Remax.com, neither does KW.com. They're all like this. They're all like that.
Next question.
Yeah.
So when you're doing that conversation, when you're showing them the pricing, would it be prudent to show the difference in what essentially what a mortgage price would be at 249 versus 250? That it really changes pennies. So like there's that way if they're afraid of kind of pushing up to the higher level. Or-
If they were to throw me that objective, I could definitely see going in that direction. I've never had that. I've never had that direction. Hey, I'm gonna raise your price. They usually go, okay.
yeah.
By the way, my bread and butter is expired listings. You know how many expired listings I've called and just been like, your listing agent really screwed you because they listed your house $1 lower than what it should have been listed at. So I know you've got your house in the market for $999,999 and you had it on for 276 days. Can I raise your price to $1 million? We'll sign a listing agreement for 30 days. If I can't get it to contract, then we'll shake hands and walk away. But if I can raise your price by $1, can I have your listing for 30 days? And they go, yeah, sure. And then I'll put it in contract and they'll go, how did you do that? Like, because there was a bunch of buyers looking from $1 million and up that didn't see your property. And there were a bunch of people looking up to 999,000 that thought you were too expensive.
There's actually buyers that will set a bottom limit, because I mean, in my mind, I'm like, why wouldn't you?
Thank
just
you
look-
for asking that question. Thank you. And first of all, yes, people want to filter out the kerfuffle, but are they really setting $1 million as their low? Probably not. However, what that completely negates is something called consumer profiles. Raise your hand if you ever visited a website called Amazon.com, Zillow.com, YouTube.com, Google.com, Facebook.com, any of those. Raise your hand if you've visited any of these websites.
Never.
Okay. No, not a conformist, thank you. So if you've been to any of these websites, or if you used a browser, they have gathered something called consumer data on you, meaning they know what you're likely to purchase. They know how much money you make. They know what your credit score is. They know what your purchase history is. They've created a consumer profile on you. So if any of those websites get an idea that you're looking for a home between $1 million and 1.3 million, that's the advertisements they're going to show you. They're going to show you Zillow. They're going to show you KW. They're going to show you Remax. They're going to show you advertising. Trust me, I just bought a house. I got all the advertisements for all the houses weirdly in my budget and in my search area. Very strange. Okay. So while you might not set $1 million as your low budget, Facebook might. That's why it's still super important, because Facebook's not going to show the $999,000 house, but they might show the $1 million. So bottom line, nines are stupid. And if anyone teaches you otherwise, respectfully nod and smile, and just, you don't have to agree. But when your listing expires, I will be taking the listing. And you don't have to agree. You don't have to. I have shown as much objective data as I can show you, and you don't have to. And by the way, do you guys want to see the list of expired listings that are going to come up next? I can show them to you. I'm going to go from 349.
You can find them before they expire.
Brooke, we're gonna blow your mind here. For 349,000, sorry, 349,000 up to 349,999. Okay, and then I'm gonna remove the zeros here. Okay, 162 matches. So here are all the listings that are going to expire. Okay, so now we know which are going to expire here in the next 90-ish days. So just make sure to go and get these people's contact information in advance so that you can reach out to them. Okay. Good deal.
Wait, just because they did a night.
Watch. Watch.
Can we do an experiment?
Yeah.
Print this list off right now, and this is gonna, and then what is this supposed to run out?
Wait,
Next
they can be
30
all our
days?
leads.
No, I'm saying, I just want to see a comparative before and
Yeah.
after. How
We
many
don't-
are on here that are about to expire versus how many actually expired?
Yep.
Just to see an idea.
I don't know if this is on the printer, but we'll find out in a second.
Or just even screenshot it or
Yeah.
or whatever. I mean, I'm just curious to know. like,
Yeah,
how many
I'd be
actually-
curious to know too.
60%, 70%, 80%? Can you literally make, like, how many of these contacts do you have to go through before you actually get their listing? On average.
I would
We're after the
say,
experience first.
I would say probably 30 to 40.
So 30 to 40 of those and you'll get one.
Okay, so whenever y'all throw the stats like that, I kind of get confused because I called 5 expired yesterday and talked to one. The others went to voicemail. So is that like a two-way conversation? Like, is that where that 30 is coming from, or just 30 calls?
So we, personally, our team does not cold call. We do
Okay.
everything through text or email. So we will send 40 emails and how many reply, I don't have the ratio for
Yeah.
that, but we'll for sure list one.
Okay. So not like 30 that reply.
So if you're not getting
I
any,
even did the RE and then the semicolon and their address, like,
are they opening it?
Huh?
Are they opening your emails?
I don't know, I need to add that. link
Yeah.
that you guys gave us.
Mail track.
I love your nails. There's
Oh,
no.
with that.
Really fun.
I'll send everyone like a recap, since there's a lot of resources that we're talking about, but mail track, it's a Chrome extension, it's free.
It's free.
And you
The
can
free version,
see,
the paid version is $5.
you can see when people read your emails. So one thing that we do, I personally do is I run analytics. So if I send like a neighborhood update or anything, I track who opens them and then I tag them appropriately. So if I know someone's reading my emails, they're tagged A, we have phone numbers that are maybe opening my, or not opening my emails, they're tagged B. Anybody who is not opening my stuff, they're tagged C. If we're gonna do a just sold postcard, I'm not gonna waste money on postage. I'm gonna send them an email to the ones that are opening my emails, it's already looking for it. And I send it to the B's and C's. Vice versa, I can see how many times they open. So if we send listing information and they're opening it 3, 4, 5. We just had a EXP agent that was asking us for coaching, and I sent him a resource. He opened it 12 times in one day. Just went back. You can see that. So then, okay, is it your email segment or your email header? Because maybe they're opening it, or is it what's in your email? If they're opening it and not responding to you, it's maybe a value add, right? If they're opening it a lot, they're probably getting something.
Well, they probably just need to nudge.
That probably need to be nudged, probably reach out. My favorite thing is like, hey, I see you've opened my email 24 times. Do you have any questions? Do we need to go over it again? You want me to give you a call? And they're like, oh shit, we're watching. Yeah, I am.
Watching.
So
We could teach a whole class on
I feel like that would scare me. I'd be like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I never opened it again.
I had somebody actually remove the tracking. on it. They invest
You didn't-
that I'm doing the office.
Yeah, some-
His firewall.
Well, there's some, like, for example, one of my, I don't know how they did it, but I know in my old job, I'd get like an email saying, they would like to know when if you open the message or whatever, and just be like, decline.
Yeah,
But I
so
don't know if it's like, this system must be.
this one, doesn't ask any permission, it just.
By the way, it will be, I'm told, that command emails will have tracking by the end of the year.
That's a good question.
I was given a very hard date.
Yay.
We'll see. The CRM that we use outside of command does have email tracking, which is why we use it. The only reason we use it.
I wondered how come my daughter would send me emails sometimes, then she'd say, Mom, it took you 3 days to open my email. And I'm like, how does she know that?
Yep. It's called a pixel. There's one little pixel inside of that email that knows whenever it's been opened. And so usually hides in your email signature. So that's what we do. We have 5 minutes. The questions do not have to relate to
Chat.
oh, the chat. Oh, good, there's recipes. The questions do not have to relate to the topic, by the way. No questions in our last 4 minutes.
I have a random weird off-topic question. I was listening to a podcast and it wasn't anybody that I had saved as like, wanted to follow. And skip to another podcast. I don't know if that one, because it had some really good information in it and I can't seem to find it.
What program are you using for podcasts?
iTunes. I think so.
I'm not an Apple person, so I don't know.
Look at it.
Say that sounds-
Julian. Julian's a fruit person. Apple.
Okay, so Brittany asked, so can you trade it?
So if someone wanted to list their house at 405, would you keep that or suggest 400? I'd suggest 400. And I would explain to them why. And by the way, sometimes it happens where the house really comps at 445, but I'll recommend 450. Okay, so it works in both directions. I'm not a hypocrite.
Would you do quarters? So like 425 or just?
If you
4,
can't get to a
450,
multiple of 100,000, then I'd go to the 50s. And if you can't get to the 50s, then I'd go to 25s. If you can't get to the 25s, I'd go to the 10s. But just know that the most valuable places to land are on 100,000s.
Okay.
Most valuable places to go. And sometimes whenever we're listing houses that are in the $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 range, you just can't sometimes. It's a lot easier in the $1 million range. I'm not saying that egotistically. I'm just saying it's easier to adjust those to the 100,000 than it is to adjust to the, but 100,000s are where all the money's at. It's where all the exposure is. We have 3 minutes.
Can you send us a YouTube video that shows us how to do, because I saw you did a Facebook thing where people could click and do price my home value. Is there a YouTube video on that?
On
How
how
to
to
put
do,
that link in there if I want to do something like that?
Oh, we use a company called Street Text to do that. And Street Text is expensive.
I've seen the advertisements.
Yeah, Street Text is expensive. You could do something like that on your own.
yeah, I use lead pages as well. We do it through lead pages. We'll put it in our newsletters or we put it on the website. So if you saw that thing that's like home evaluation, yeah, that's through lead pages.
Okay.
You can also do a Facebook ad that collects information like that too. I mean, that's what Street Text is. They just manage it for us. We just pay them.
Nick Baldwin will start with where I can.
Yes, we'll put some kind of resources. Am I overwhelming you guys on all the Facebook posts? I feel like I'm posting every day. Okay.
No, I just signed up on the Facebook. I don't know if I'm in the right one.
You are.
You are.
Okay.
I don't think we're in it.
Should be.
Smash that button.
Maybe I just haven't accepted it.
I'm pretty sure I have.
So. Because I don't know how to get the command or any of that stuff. I don't think I have a login yet. They might have sent it to me. I don't know when
Have
they
you
got
done
it.
your tech onboarding with Diane?
No.
That's where you're with that. We're working on a way to systematize that. instead of having to come in for an in-person appointment with her to make it virtual. We just have- They have to clear it. But we've been begging for it. So,
I need help with the dates on my backup addendum, but I don't know. It's just too.
I got you. And now that it's 2, I got you. So, yeah, your computer next to it.
Okay.
You Bring that. to you. Otherwise, class is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zoom people.
Send you the invite.
Oh, that is on.
So what is Meraki Consulting?